Namaskar. Welcome to this session. Today we are going to discuss the second of the antarayas, the Styanam. There are nava antarayas. The first one was Vyadhi, and now the second one is Styanam. Styanam is rendered as languor. But let's try to understand the technical meaning of Styanam here and not just go by literal meaning. Styanam, Vyasa puts it, Styanam akarmanyata chittasya. So it is akarmanyata, a motivation, lack of motivation and a motivation of citta. Now, usually we are all aware of this akarmanyata, a motivation of the mind, and many times one is misled. One considers this as a motivation of the mind, but this is a motivation of the citta itself. We have been repeatedly considering that the citta is the whole of the mind. Citta has ocean depth and even more. Citta has expanse of motion, ocean or more than that. The mind is just a tip of an iceberg. If the citta is iceberg, mind is just a tip. Therefore, literally and psychologically we will be misled by the term Styanam when it is rendered as languor. So this is a kind of a motivation of mind if you look at it peripherally. But if you go to a deeper purport of it, it is a motivation of very citta. Now citta, as just now I said, it has the ocean depth. That means the motivation comes from an enormous depth. And then citta is like ocean compared to mind. The mind is encased just in your vessel of the brain, skull. It is encased in the skull. The skull is, it is almost like a pot, and the mind contains in it. That's the content of the brain. But citta has expanse of an ocean, depth of an ocean, and therefore it won't be proper to just dub it as a motivation of the mind or lack of motivation of the mind. Akarmanyata is the word used by Vyasa. So, it's a kind of inertia, obviously in the mind, and inertia in the citta, because a motivation is cause of torpidity, inertia in the mind, psyche, or even the citta. And therefore, if usually or sometimes you bubble with enthusiasm to do yoga, on a particular day, you have this kind of inertia, torpidity, dullness. And that is why you are having a motivation, lack of motivation, or you are little inhibited or reluctant to take up pursuit of yoga. So this is what we experience on the plane of mind, because we don't experience the citta, but we experience the mind. So in the mind, we do come across sometimes that we have lack of motivation, there is inertia, there is dullness, there is torpidity. And therefore, if you look into Tattva Vaishardi of Vachaspati Mishra, he says, akarmanyata karmar narhata. So, commenting on it, he says that it is akshamata. The mind is incapacitated on such certain days. You have capacity to be doing it, which you have been doing every day. But on a day, you come across a condition that you are incapacitated. Now, when you are incapacitated, naturally you won't be venturing to do it, although you might be doing every day. This is clearly brought out in the same term by Yoga Vartikar, Vijnana Bhikshu. Yoganusthana akshamata. Akshamata for yoganusthanam. Now, apparently, when it are looking at the mind and the Styanam, so it is something called as pathologically. If you look at the pathology of the mind, then there is, in Ayurvedic concept, it is called amata in the mind. Just as when your body has amavata, arthritic body. Now, arthritic body doesn't have agility. There might be pain, or if there is not significant pain, yet the body doesn't have the electrified condition. So the body has some inertia and dullness as well because of amavata. So this is amavata in the mind. The mind itself has a kind of arthritis. It's a very interesting concept. We know about arthritis of the body, and we can understand what happens by arthritis, like disease in the body. Now, this is something that can be called as arthritis of the mind itself. Then, pathologically, due to mala varodha, it's a constipated condition of the mind. We know the constipation of our body. The body constipated is a condition, and then we go for laxative and purgative, etc. But this is a kind of constipation of the mind. See, psychologically, it's a very interesting concept to crystallize. Arthritis of the mind and constipation of the mind. Because we know only arthritis of the body and constipation of the body, constipation in the body. That is akarmanya actually. Or akshamata in the mind itself. We know the body incapacitated, but this is incapacitated mind and citta itself. So these are interesting concepts to understand what really Styanam is. So it is obviously a vikshepa. It is obviously an obstacle to our yogic pursuit. So Vijnana Bhikshu makes it clear that it is not akarmanyata of the body. There is another pathological condition which is akarmanyata of the body. And this is different than that. This is akarmanyata of the mind. See, akarmanyata of the body can occur also once in a while. Like you are indisposed, you are unwell, little feverish. Not that you really have fever, but feverish. Then you know what happens to your body. So the body is also little heading towards inertia. It is already having inertia, and therefore you don't feel like being active in the body. So similarly, it sometimes happens to the mind. So we are familiar with the fever of the body, feverishness of the body, but we have not really conceived fever of the mind, feverishness of the mind. Now, fever of the mind, that if the mind temperature goes up, we know we are exasperating and we are angry, etc. We are tolerant, etc., irksome, etc. And we are explosive, perhaps. But that's all we know. but there is some kind of little feverishness in the mind itself, whereby there is a motivation in the mind. So mind gets constipated, mind gets arthritic attack, and mind gets feverishness. This is very interesting pathology that we need to crystallize in understanding this obstacle called Styanam. Um, See, in simple words, it is inability to practice yoga on account of indisposition of mind and not indisposition of the body. So there are two different conditions: indisposition of the body and indisposition of the mind. Now, here the typical thing is that if it is indisposition of the mind, the typical thing is that you are only indisposed to be doing yoga, but you are not indisposed to be doing any other activity of business of life. So on a day we are little kind of in indisposition to be doing yogic practices. However, we are nowhere in any deficiency. We are nowhere in eclipse condition to be doing any other activity of the life, business activity of the life. In other words, nonsense of life. So for nonsense of life, we are energetic, but to be doing yoga, we are not. We are indisposed. So this is an interesting thing that we need to scan into the condition of languor, and not just by that English word with which we are familiar, just neglect it, saying that it is indisposed mind, because basically it is in the chittam, and this is something very, very different than merely styanam or the manas. So we should not confuse styanam or the manas. It happens many, and we are aware of it, and we really don't take cognizance of it. No, it's today like this, tomorrow it will be okay. The mind is not disposed today, the mind is little wandering, or mind is little dull, mind is under tamasic influence or rajic influence today, but tomorrow it will be okay. This is what we feel, and therefore we don't go deeper into it. But however, we should not lose the advertence that even vyadhi is with reference to chitta, or vyadhi that has gone to the plane of chitta, that has penetrated to the whole chitta. This is not casual fever, etc., something which comes and goes, bouts of whatever ulcers and this and that, etc., diseases or indisposition. This has, when it goes to the plane of chitta, it's really different pathology, which only in yoga it is considered and not in medicine. So now if you little go by guna analysis, it is tamo guna pradurbhavam on a quite a big scale for the whole chitta to be affected. So tamo guna has suddenly faded in, and therefore the sthana like thing happens. Now regarding sthana, since it is on the plane of chitta, it has greater radius to operate. If it only happens on the mind, the radius is limited, it is there for a day or so, then it goes away. But now if it is on the plane of chitta, like sometimes, in medicine also they say that the fever has gone deep, and then it doesn't get well by just few analgesic pills swallowed. Then greater measures have to be taken. If fever has persisted for long time, unduly long time, then it is something called fever gone quite deep, and therefore little stronger measures are to be used. Higher magnitude measures are to be applied in such a case. Now, regarding Styanam, let me tell you here that um, it's quite interesting thing here. In our astrological charts, we are told about sometimes there is Shukra Dasha. Now, when the Shukra Dasha is there, it is for some duration. It is not just for one day. Like, you get fever. It is fever you had yesterday and you today you don't have fever. Fever is gone, you say. So fever can be there for a short while. It can be there for a couple of hours. And maybe next day you are absolutely fit as fiddle, back to square one in your health. But in astrology, you come across conditions such as Shukra Dasha. In Shukra Dasha, the Rajoguna influx will be so strong and it will be really influencing your life for some time, depending upon its duration. It might be for few weeks to few months to few years that you are in Shukra Dasha. So in astrology, you are told about this. Astrologers will tell you about this, that the Shukra Dasha is going on, and Shukra Dasha means you have characteristic change in your behavior. You are more frolicsome. You are more inclined to go for gratification. You are more inclined to go for enjoyment, and you do get enjoyment your way. It's not that you are only itching for enjoyment, but the enjoyment comes your way. So, in astrology, there are such dashas. Sometimes the Ravi, the sun, is malified. Now, when the sun is malified, you have certain effects. When the sun is beneficial to you, a benefactor, then you have opposite condition. So each of these planets can come in either normal condition or might have grace on you, or on the other hand, they can be in a maleficious state. And they do work on our entire makeup of our embodiment and our mind, psyche, consciousness and whole citta. So these dashas do come. Now, particularly here, it is, in our case, our approach to yoga is quite casual. So these ups and downs will be definitely coming. Sometimes we are more enthusiastic and sometimes we are not so enthusiastic, and sometimes we are little inhibitive to be doing yoga, little reluctant to be doing yoga. So these things, our moods, is quite frequent thing for we mortals who take up to yoga. The swing of moods. So we know this is a frequent phenomenon. Swing of moods, which is after all a swing. So it is there for a couple of hours or maybe a day or so. But sometimes this dasha is not like that. It is not just swing of mood. And bearing in mind that this has come in samadhipada to uttamadhikari. Uttamadhikari doesn't have casual approach like you and me, because after all he is supremely qualified practitioner of yoga, so he doesn't give to moods so easily, and it's not so frequent thing because he's quite reformed. Yet the astrological forces are quite strong, and therefore some influence would be there even on an uttamadhikari. So, yoga is abhyasa vairagya. So, yoga is renunciate culture of the mind. But when in a renunciate culture of the mind, which is generally the renunciate culture of the mind, which is acquired, which is attained, which is imbibed, which is inculcated by uttamadhikari, yet suppose the Shukra Dasha comes in, then there will be certainly some discounting. and therefore the vairagya will be discounted. Now, if the vairagya is discounted, you can understand what happens to yoga correspondingly to of such a yogi. So similarly, in astrological charts and astrological constellations, we have such conditions that guru becomes weak. Now, when guru becomes weak, you can understand what will happen to abhyasa potentials and vairagya potentials, even those which are acquired by you, collected by you, stacked up by you, having in your treasury, having in your possession. Yet, when the guru dasha is weakened, there is significant influence of that guru dasha, which has now weakened on the citta and therefore on the whole yoga. So, to influence citta, something of that nature, the position of the stars, the constellations of the stars in astrology, they play a really very vital role to really engulf the whole citta. Otherwise, we get this psychological fevers, and therefore on some day we are motivated. Somebody offends you, insults you, or any such thing happens, then you are motivated. Your teacher, perhaps your guru, will be admonishing you. Now, being admonished, you feel little low, and then it stays for some time. But it is swing of the mood on. Then you feel motivated. You feel reluctant. You feel disheartened and reluctant, and therefore you are not enthusiastically in your yoga. So these are swings of moods which happen to us and we experience in life. But if you have little understanding of these astrological positions and conditions and these dashas, then sometimes it so happens that you get such a dasha, the Ravi, the sun is weak, the guru has become weak. And then there is influence of Shani. Then you get a more durable condition of a motivation. It's not just swing of mood. So this can happen to even a yogi, except Uttamottamadhikari. It can happen to even a yogi that the conditions in life do change because of dashas. What you call as Sade Sati of Shani. Now, Sade Sati of Shani will be engulfing almost all of us, and even some of the noble people whom we revere as great people, they also come under the grip of Sade Sati. So, for citta to be happening like that, it is not just swing of the mood, which is only for mind. This is more deeper. And therefore, there is a motivation or akarmanyata in the citta. So basically, we should know the akarmanyata of the mind and akarmanyata of the citta. Akarmanyata of the mind is short-lived, short-term, and akarmanyata of the citta is not short-lived, or it is not short-term. It is long-term, and it is also stronger. So, when it is with respect to citta, we should understand how the Styanam would be working. Akarmanyata would be working. So, this is an interesting point which usually escapes the students of Pathology Yoga Sutra. So, let's consider Shukra Dasha blooming and blossoming. It will certainly harm your yoga. Shani Dasha blooming and blossoming, it will again work adversely on your yoga. Guru Dasha waning will again influence the yoga. Ravi Dasha again waning will influence your yoga. So astrologically we can understand how we have conditions changing between favorable to unfavorable. So this unfavorable condition coming astrologically has a deeper effect on our embodiment and ourselves. And that is to be considered here in Styanam. So on our plane, we should understand Sthyana is such a condition that on a day we are not so motivated, enthusiastic as usual to be doing yoga, but we are equally enthusiastic to be doing any other thing. So that's Styanam. Styanam is only that languor which is with reference to mind for particular endeavor. So it happens to us in swing of moods. Some days, although we are studious people, maybe studying, and on a day we are little inhibited or little discouraged or little unmotivated to be doing the studies which we do usually, or any activity that we do usually with a fervor, usual fervor, we on a day it is not there. It is because the mood swing. But here it is citta alternation. The citta itself is alternating to a tamasic state. So that is what Styanam is. Oh, of course, and this is obviously a strong antaraya to be in yoga. And then you can understand how it might be strongly working for very sensitive yogi, and even more greater profundity that you have in yoga, this would be more pricking kind of obstacle. So with that, I think it should be enough to say about Styanam. The next one is Samshaya. Samshaya, generally, literally, it's a doubt. But here Vyasa explains technically, Ubhaya koti sprajnanam syad idam eva na eva syad idam iti. So it is that your knowledge or your psyche is touching both the sides of a thing. That it is like this and alternately it is not like this. And therefore there is oscillation in the mind. The mind oscillates between this pole and that pole. Yes and no. Yes and no. This and not this. That and not that. So, and therefore the mind is oscillating. Now oscillating mind, loses a composure, fixation, steadfastness, perseverance and persistence. So on the plane of mind we do experience this. Once the worm of doubt gets in our mind, then we know that we are not focused to be doing that thing. One can never be in focus when you have the doubt of this nature is coming in. Yes and no, yes and no, yes or no, or this and not this, that and not that. And then, so this is on the plane of mind. Now we have to understand this is going on the plane of citta. So this is quite a high magnitude wave. Like on sea beach you get waves. So what waves do you get generally? Then how the wave comes to seashore on low tide day and then high tide day. So there is something like more or less. So on the seashore you experience someday the sea is more turbulent and someday it is not that turbulent. It is quite passive, sedate. as if it has taken a sedative. So similarly, this is a kind of wave, and when Samshaya with reference to chitta is being mentioned, it's quite a strong wave and not a low tide wave which happens on the mind. So Samshaya is now said to be yogantaraya. Now this can come in various magnitudes even for us. Sometimes we have a kind of smaller radius of doubt whether this will come to me or not, this asana will come to me or not, or this pranayam will it come to me or not. It will come, it may not come, etc. So the mind oscillates. But sometimes you can get a fever, like whether the whole of yoga at all is going to come to me or not. So understand difference between a particular asana, particular kriya, particular pranayam, whether it is going to come to me or not going to come to me. What is the radius of its operation? But whether the yoga itself is going to come to me or not going to come to me. So it's a stronger wave. So if the mind is oscillating between yoga possible or not possible, now understand what is the oscillation potential. Compared to a thing in yoga, whether this is going to come to me or not going to come to me. So understand its radius of operation. So it can be even the radius of operation sometimes, whether the yoga at all is for me or not for me. So what happens by this is that your wholeheartedness goes away. Your wholeheartedness is held back. You cannot be doing anything wholeheartedly. Now, if you don't do wholeheartedly, you know what is going to be the outcome of such half-hearted attempts. And therefore, Samshaya is definitely an antaraya, whether it is on the plane of mind or whether it is on the plane of chitta. Now, as we saw that the doubt whether I will get it or I will not get it. Now this syad idam na syad idam is what Vyasa has said. Now Vijnana Bhikshu opens this out. This doubt comes with respect to very means of yoga that we are adhering to. We doubt the very means. Now if you doubt very means, then you can understand how it's a stronger doubt. Or sometimes you start doubting the Guru Vachanam. You start doubting very Guru. If it so happens that you are doubting your own Guru, or you are doubting your very means, or you start doubting the very scriptures and very Shastra, you start having doubt about Yoga Shastra itself. You start doubting Patanjali himself. What will happen to yoga? If you doubt your probability or improbability of yoga, it's one thing. But if you start doubting Patanjali himself, and see what will happen, it will be such a big jolt. Oscillation will be so strong. So, such doubt can come to us, and we, in our formative phase, sometimes we might get the feeling whether the yoga is meant for me or not meant for me. So this doubt is really detonating. We should be very careful about this doubt element, because that can be of any magnitude. If you start doubting your teacher and your guru and your shastra and your very means that you have adhered to, then it will be quite a big jolt. Rather than doubting only your ability. If you doubt your ability and your inability, it's not a huge thing, it's not a big thing. If you have doubt in yourself, it's not a big thing. But if you have doubt in your own guru, then it is quite a high magnitude doubt. And that would be really devastating. So, Vachaspati makes it clear that if the doubt is with regards to sadhana, the means, Guru Vachanam, Shastra Vachanam, this is something on the plane of citta. The jolt is almost on the plane of citta. If you doubt within yourself whether it is possible for me or I have capacity of it or for it or not, then it's in the mind. It will come and go. But then if the doubt is in very guru or very pursuit and very means that you have adhered to, then it will be quite strong oscillation. So this is oscillation on the plane of citta, means it is of such a nature for you and me. We start doubting Guru Vachanam, we start doubting Shastra Vachanam, we start doubting Patanjali himself, we start doubting all those acharyas, yogacharyas, or our guru, our teacher. So Bhava Ganesha, who is following Vijnana Bhikshu in his commentary, he has penned down a vritti, Bhava Ganesha vritti. Samshayo Guru Shastrokta Sadhaneshu Ubhayakotik Jnanam. This is what he mentions, because this is not only Samshaya in the mind, it is Samshaya in the citta. So it has to be having strong potential to oscillate, or oscillating at a greater range with a greater force. So it's a kind of knowledge or lack of knowledge or misinformation with which the doubt comes up. Usually if your knowledge is clear and moreover complete, then you don't get the doubt. But if you have half knowledge and information, moreover information, then you are prone to, or you are vulnerable to fall victim to samshaya, the doubt. So there is, why does this oscillation takes place? Because there is partial knowledge and partial lack of knowledge. That is why you oscillate. The known and unknown, with regards to one and the same thing, the both are still making their presence felt. There is some amount of ignorance about yoga, some amount of knowledge of yoga. So ignorance and knowledge combination about yoga is the basis for samshaya. And this is made clear in Vaisheshika Sutra by Maharshi Kanada in 2.2.20. He says, vidya avidyatascha samshaya. It's a wonderful definition that you come across in another shastra called Vaisheshika Darshanam. Vidya avidyatascha samshaya. That means ignorance and knowledge both coming in, both sharing your psyche, is basis for doubt. If you have complete ignorance about something, you have no knowledge about something, why will you doubt? If you have complete knowledge about something, why will you doubt? It is only because knowledge is partial and there is also partial lack of knowledge. The both are coexisting. That is the basis for doubt. So half knowledge is dangerous. This is what we hear as words of wisdom. Half knowledge is dangerous. So if you are completely ignorant about yoga, you have no idea about what yoga is, then the doubt won't come. But if you start understanding yoga, your understanding is a little bit. When there is little bit of understanding, then there is room for doubt. So we have to overcome this little bit of knowledge of yoga. As long as we are in that range, that there is little bit of yoga known, then the doubt is quite, you are susceptible to be victim of doubt and doubting. So this has been clarified by Vaisheshika Sutrakar Kanada Maharshi. Vidya avidyatascha samshayaha. Yathartha jnanam and ayathartha jnanam, the two coexisting. Can you claim that you have yathartha jnana of yoga, complete and profound and perfect knowledge of yoga? No one of us can claim. So we are vulnerable to fall to this obstacle, because as long as we don't have that, then that means we have room for doubt. So yathartha jnana, ayathartha jnana, both when they are having a combination in your psyche consciousness, then you are prone to get samshaya. Therefore, you should know that to conquer samshaya, it's not that you should just not have doubt and just kick away the doubt from your mind and thwart the doubt or prevent the doubt from entering your mind. You can't prevent. It is just because there is knowledge and lack of knowledge both coexisting. With regard to anything, you will have doubt there. So with regard to yoga, the doubt will be coming up. So that's another dimension of doubt that we can cite in Vaisheshika Sutra. Then I would like to draw your attention to even Samshaya characterized by Nayayikas, the Indian classical logicians, the Indian positivists and Indian rationals. They are called Nayayikas. So in Nyaya Darshana, in Nyaya Sutra 1.1.13, it's quite an elaborate definition of samshaya as to why you get doubt. So listen to this wonderful definition. Samana aneka dharmopapattehe vipratipatte upalabdhi avyavasthatascha visheshopeksho vimarsha samshayaha. Say with respect to an object where we are trying to get our knowledge. So there, in the prameya, in the knowable entity, with regards to knowable, in our jnana, why do we get doubt? They say samana dharma upalabdhi. When there are samana dharmas, some two things are similar, then we really start doubting, is this that, or is that this? So two things are similar, samana dharmopapatti. When there are similarities between two things, then the doubt comes up. If there are two persons looking similar, then we start getting a doubt. Who is really the Chaitra here? Is this Chaitra or is that Chaitra? Because why? Both are similarly appearing. So samana dharma upalabdhi. When you have samana dharma upalabdhi, similarity coming up between two things, then we have doubt whether this is genuine or that is genuine, or this is that or that is this, or this is that or that is that. Then aneka dharmo upalabdhi, aneka dharmo upalabdhi. When many characteristics start coming, are there in one thing, then only you start doubting. So aneka dharma upalabdhi, then you are confused. The sun has only one characteristic if you look at the sun. But the sun starts appearing many ways, in different ways, that you really start doubting, is this really the sun, or is my notion about the sun is right? Because the sun is changing. Suppose Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you have different manifestation of the sun. Then you start doubting in the sky, this such a bright star, is it really the sun? So aneka dharmo upalabdhi is also basis for doubting something. Or upalabdhi avyavasthapanam. If the characteristics are not static, if they are changing, so mismanaged characteristics, then that also creates doubt. And Vishesha Dharma Anupalabdhi. the particular characteristic not really available, graspable, then you start getting doubt. And then perhaps you get viparita jnanam, and therefore the doubt also comes up. So it has been beautifully characterized here. So for Samshaya Utpatti, for Samshaya to come up, there are actually 5 factors according to Nyaya Shastra. Samana Dharmopapatti, number 1. Aneka Dharmopapatti, number 2. Vipratipatti, that means opposite Gnan, opposite experience. Vipratipatti, the third one. Upalabdhi Avyavastha, and that is 4. Anupalabdhi Avyavastha, number 5. So let's try to open out this very interesting analysis given by Nyaya Shastra while defining Samshaya. But let us do that in our next session. Enough for the time being. So namaskar all of you.